It's January and it definitely shows. Alright, so The Grudge is the first horror film released this year and this decade, and it stars Andrea Riseborough, John Cho, Lin Shaye, and Jackie Weaver, and Damien Bashir, and tells a story about this investigator who investigates this house where this family was murdered, and lo and behold, she is cursed by an entity following her everywhere she goes, haunting her, and doing a terrible job at it. No, I was somewhat excited to see this film. I saw the trailers and I thought they looked pretty creepy and very intriguing. Plus, a little R rating gives it a little bit of a since the other two were PG-13 and the straight to DVD was rated R. So this makes it the first theatrically released Grudge film to be rated R. And so I was really intrigued because I really liked Andrea Riseborough in Disconnected. And I also am a huge fan of John Cho and Damien Bashir. I think those two are great. And of course, you can never go wrong with Lin Shaye in a horror film. So I was really intrigued to see what we were going to get with this Grudge film. And what I can say is this. I don't hate myself watching this film like I hated myself for watching Black Christmas 2019. I think they did some really clever things in this film that I was really surprised at. And I know a lot of people are hating on this film, but I do see where they're coming from. This isn't a great film. This is a modernly bad movie, but there are some scares in this film that did get me and that were really effective for me. I'm gonna start off with the positives. Some of the positives that I have for this film is John Cho and Damien Bashir. They did their best in this film, and Lin Shaye as well. And I think there are some jump scares in this film that really did get me and are really effective in this film. But overall, I think this film is something that lacks in story department and character development because this movie travels this movie takes place in the same timeline as the first two Grudge movies, and they jump back and forth a lot that you don't know where the time is where the time is spent. And that really bugs me a lot because that's one of the issues that I had with it chapter 2 where it bounced back from the adults to the kids and back and forth for 2 hours, and that kind of gets on my nerves for me because sometimes it'll set up for a great scare but then it immediately cuts to something else without warning, like without spoiling anything. I'll give you an example. There's a bathtub scene that prepares you for a jump scare and its creepiness, and then next thing you know, somebody's cutting carrots with a knife, and that really sit well with me because it basically jolted and had it basically lost its creepiness effect. And this movie is tied up with its cliched jump scares, but sometimes if it's done right, it doesn't bug me a lot. But a lot of the times this movie does feel like it's all set up without payoffs, and that really stresses me out because I love horror film and I really wanted this film to be good. But ultimately, it fails in not only its story structure, but it also fails in its scares. And there's even though there are a couple moments that genuinely did get me, there are some moments where it just felt cheap and fake, and you don't see much of the Grudge entity, you just see shadows. And just like The Nun, it does have an effective opening, which I wish could have been carried on throughout the whole film. But just like just like everything else, this movie could have just taken place at one house, doing the same thing that we got with the original Grudge, and probably the remake, probably what we got with the original Ju-on and the remake Grudge. I haven't seen the original, but I've mildly remember the Sarah Michelle Gellar one. But overall, I think this is a movie that had potential of being not only good, but half decent, and it just fills in all cylinders. I think Andrea Riseborough is probably a one note character in this film. I think didn't gravitate to her as much as I wish I could have, and I know she probably did the best she could with the material she was handed to. But overall, I think this is a movie that had the potential of not only giving us some good jump scares, but also giving us a nice cohesive story instead of jumping back in time a lot. And it felt like three different movies wrapped up in one, and that really didn't sit well with me because it didn't have any payoff. Because once you get to the final 30 minutes of the film, it's just quick death after death after death, and you don't really get that much of a feeling because you really didn't care from the start. And I wish this movie would have been better because I'm a fan of everybody in this film, but ultimately it didn't hit me in the right places and kind of rubbed me the wrong ways. I'm going to go ahead and give The Grudge a 3 out of 10. Have you guys seen The Grudge? What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Let me know down in the comments what you think of it. And if you like this, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. I got my top 10 best of 2019. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And also check out my other reviews. And if there's any other movies that you want me to review, go ahead and let me know down in the comments what you want me to review. And until next time, this is Josie Reviews.